do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
What's up, everybody? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. So, this happened a couple of weeks ago at this point. It was one of the first moves made in the offseason, but here we are. Most of the offseason stuff is wrapped up, so we're kind of going to circle back to some of the things that happened a little bit earlier in the process. Chris Paul was traded to the Phoenix Suns, and this, to me, is a home run of a deal for Phoenix. They, didn't give up too much for him. Gave up Kelly Oubre and Ricky Rubio and Jalen LeCue, and then, I believe, a first-round draft pick in a couple of years. So really, they were able to get a veteran point guard, an all-star. Yes, he's 35 years old. Yes, he had that contract is a lot of money, but they're bringing him in for 2 more seasons, are all that's left on his deal. He's going to be able to help this team, try to push for the playoffs, really be competitive in the Western Conference over the next few seasons. We just saw what he did with Oklahoma City last year, taking them into the first round of the playoffs, into a Game 7 against the Houston Rockets, almost, knocking them off in the first round. That was a really, really tight series, and they almost got it done. With that roster that he had there. And there's an argument to be made that this Suns roster is even better than the one that Chris Paul had in Oklahoma City last year. He has Devin Booker as his teammate. Booker is a better player than anybody on the Suns last year. He's one of the best teammates Chris Paul's ever had, to be honest. And so this is a guy who is going to be able to score the ball. He's going to get some open looks off of assists from Chris Paul. These two are going to maximize each other's skill sets perfectly, and I'm really, really excited to see how that pairing works between the two of them, because, Chris Paul is obviously a very high IQ basketball player. We haven't really seen Devin Booker on a winning team. Aside from that 8-0 run in the bubble, his career has mostly been a lot of losses with some big statistics, but just not a lot of winning. And now I think they're finally ready to make that jump. The Suns were the first ever offseason preview that I did on this channel, and I was really, really excited about them coming off that 8-0 run in the bubble there, and I'm even more high on this team now. They were able to really make a lot of changes this offseason and start to push for the postseason here. Chris Paul is just the beginning, because they brought in Abdel Nader in that trade with him, and that's not a huge piece there, but that's somebody who can maybe play a couple of minutes off the bench for you. I would not be surprised to see him get a little bit of run with Phoenix. Bringing in Jay Crowder in free agency for $10 million a year, that's a pretty solid deal for him. He's another guy who can come in, whether he starts or comes off the bench, he'll be able to hit some shots for you, play tough defense. He's a very, very tough player. We just saw how valuable he was to the Heat in their run to the finals, so certainly I think that's a very nice signing for them in free agency as well. Bringing in Etuan Moore on a minimum deal, as well as Langston Galloway, I believe, signed with them on a minimum. Those are 2 other rotation players. Neither of those 2 are really moving the needle that much, but it's good rotation depth. And re-signing Dario Saric as well in free agency. That's another guy who brings back versatile forward who can shoot, defend a little bit. It's still young too, so bringing back most of their pieces from last year and adding Chris Paul into the mix there. Also drafting Jalen Smith, 10th overall. That one was a little bit weird to me. As far as needs for the Suns go, backup center isn't really the biggest pressing need to me, because they do have DeAndre Ayton, of course. But not the end of the world. I think it makes sense for them to do that, especially if they figured they were going to be re-signing Aaron Baines, which they didn't. And so Jalen Smith is a guy who can come in and eat up some of those minutes that are left by Aaron Baines leaving, and so it works out. Hopefully he can turn into something for them. And so really this team is a lot deeper now. Chris Paul, the starting lineup is going to look like Chris Paul, Devin Booker at the 2. At the 3, it'll be Mikal Bridges most likely. And then at the 4, it's either going to be Jay Crowder or Cam Johnson. Not really sure what they're going to go with there. They had a lot of success with the Cam Johnson lineup in the bubble, but Jay Crowder, new addition. Maybe he can, be the starter there, or maybe they'll shuffle it based on matchup or whatever they're feeling. Maybe they'll battle for the starting job. Who knows? Crowder would be okay coming off the bench as well. He's done that at points in his career. And then at center, of course, DeAndre Ayton. So if Ayton takes another leap, that's another wrinkle for them to be able to just be even better than they were. Devin Booker, hopefully he can get even better, considering he is obviously still so young. Mikal Bridges was very impressive in the bubble. He's a young, versatile wing defender, has a lot of length. His arms are crazy long. His wingspan's ridiculous for a guy his size. So he's a really good defensive wing. Can hit a 3-point shot as well at a pretty good clip. So that's a nice piece there. And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier, the tandem of Chris Paul and Devin Booker working together in the backcourt. To me, that's going to be one of the better backcourts in the entire league. So what does that do for Phoenix, right? Is this good enough to get them into the playoffs in the Western Conference? And I think it is, yeah. Especially because the team that Chris Paul just left, Oklahoma City, obviously they were in the postseason last year. They're not going to be competing for a spot this season, so they're probably going to be worse. And then you take them out, right? And then you're kind of splitting hairs at that point, just because the Western Conference is so tough. And there are not only the Suns are going to be challenging for a spot. As a team that wasn't really in the postseason mix last year, they're going to be challenging this year, as well as the Golden State Warriors. They will be back, even with the loss of Klay Thompson. Steph Curry and company are going to be challenging, and they will certainly make the playoffs in the Western Conference as well. So it gets really tough with who you're going to be kicking out, right? Is it a team like the Portland Trailblazers, who barely made it last year, but that was due to a lot of health issues and chemistry stuff early in the year? They kind of came on strong late in the season. Is it a team like the Utah Jazz, who maybe have gotten a little bit worse over the offseason, even though they still have Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert? Maybe that just doesn't quite cut it in the Western Conference this year. Maybe it's, the Houston Rockets, if they decide to blow it up, trade away Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Of course, that would put them out of the playoff picture. There's a lot of variables here. It's just the West is so tough. But I do imagine that this Suns team is, I would consider them to be one of the lead contenders for the playoffs. I'd probably put them in the tier with teams like the Blazers and the Jazz and the Grizzlies, most likely, challenging for those last couple, those bottom 2-3 playoff spots and spots for the play-in game as well. If we know one thing, we know that play-in game in the Western Conference is going to be tough, just like it was last year. Hopefully we get another good round of play-in games for the Western Conference, because there's just a lot of really good teams. So to me, I think Phoenix is definitely one of those spots in the Western Conference after this move. I'm excited to see the Suns be good again. It's been a long time since they've really been a good team, since the Steve Nash days. They've been really bad for the last 10 years or so almost. And so hopefully for them and their franchise in that city, they'll be able to get this team back into the postseason. So that's about all I have for you on the Phoenix Suns today. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, ring the bell if you want to, leave a comment letting me know what you guys think about this move for Phoenix, and also letting me know what you'd like to hear me talk about over the next couple of weeks, because the offseason moves have kind of died down. We're nearing the point where there's not too much going on. There might be a couple dominoes left to fall, but training camp opens in a couple days, but we'll see, how much is going on here. We have about a month left until the season kicks off. So, let me know what you guys want to hear from me, over the next few weeks until the season opens. With all that said, hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.